Use my phone. Hey there, creepy peeps, and welcome to the season finale of MTV's Scream television series. I know that this happened like 2 weeks ago, I think it ended, but I did watch it, and well, I mean, I watched the last 2 episodes because the last one I did, I think, was the 8th one. Yeah. I mean, it would have been boring for me to review just the 9th episode by itself anyway, because it's just connected to the last one. So I'm not really gonna go into too much detail, like what happens scene by scene in the finale. It's kind of boring, really. Like for a season finale, I don't know. It's just like blah. I am gonna spoil the ending though, so if you still haven't watched the season finale or you plan on watching this series or something at a later date, maybe don't watch this because I'm definitely gonna spoil the ending. I liked and disliked the ending, and I'll explain that in a second. So basically the season finale, we have come to the conclusion that Emma, our protagonist, her mother had a child with Brandon James a long time ago and gave the child up for adoption. Now we have this wild card killer who has motive to commit these murders, especially since they've been focusing on Emma and her mother, so that all makes sense. As at least one of the killers. We can figure that one out. Surprisingly, like, everybody pretty much survives this. Like, our main cast that we started out with in the beginning, like, more than 50% of them are alive. I don't know, I guess I was just expecting more of a bloodbath. They started off strong, like killing people off in the first, second, third, fourth episode, and then it got dry for a while. Like dry, I mean as in like lack of blood. I think there might have actually only really been like one important death. Everybody else was kind of, they weren't main characters. So yeah, there's really only one. Okay, so there's 2 important deaths, excuse me. 2 important deaths in this, but still, for a season finale for a slasher TV show, for there to be that little slashing is a little disappointing. Especially since the Scream movies, at least to me, like the deaths and the gore and the blood is in such excess that it's almost ridiculous. And that's part of the reason why I enjoy them. So just like the lack of blood and guts was a little disappointing. There was one really cool death. Unfortunately, the sheriff, is he the sheriff? I think he's the sheriff. Kieran's father, he dies, and the way that happens is he's like strapped to a tree or something, like tied up to a tree, and like the medical examiner, Emma's mother, is trying to quickly untie him, and he's kind of trying to like warn her about something, so you know something bad is gonna happen as soon as they untie him. And as soon as they untie him, I guess the ropes and stuff were holding his insides together, because as soon as the ropes come off, his like intestines and guts come spilling out. That was pretty brutal. That was kind of a cool death. We're not gonna talk about what happens at like the big party. You know, there's always a big party at the end, because nothing happens, like nobody dies. Everyone comes close to dying, but then they get saved at the last minute. Like, the fuck is this? So it turns out that Piper, I think her name is Piper. I really should remember these characters' names, but I kind of think that's a sign of how good this show is. I'm pretty sure her name is Piper. She's the podcast lady, the one who I said before was a little bit strange and suspicious, because she always, like throughout this series, she's always been showing up right when Emma is kind of having a breakdown and there to like comfort her. So it turns out she was the child of Emma's mother and Brandon James, who got given up. And the whole climax is, again, just really dull. Like, There's some punches thrown between her and Emma. There's a little fight. It's mostly Piper monologuing, and you know, as killers do, they talk just long enough for another character to swoop in and save the day, who is that character being Audrey. She comes in and shoots up Piper. A really cool shot to the head by Emma, of course. Like, they shoot Piper, she falls into the lake, and then she pops back up, and Emma pops her one in the head, saying they always come back. Little nod to Scream, you know, they always come back for one last scare. But now I'm thinking that the whole Piper taking long enough to get killed might have been on purpose, because what we find out at the end of the episode, the very end of the episode, is, well, we see Audrey going into her room and opening up like a little like lockbox, and there's all these handwritten letters addressed to her from Piper. And then we hear like a narration of a character talking, wondering how if Piper was the killer all along, who was under the mask when Will and Piper were attacked back in the middle of the season. And then you see Audrey burning those letters, as they are evidence of her and Piper being in cahoots together. So Audrey is also one of the killers, which I was actually surprised about. Piper, I was not surprised at all. When they revealed her, I was just like, okay, well, I kind of suspected her anyway. Audrey, I didn't, so I was surprised by that. So that was good. At least they shocked me somehow. And that does tie up the loose end throughout the series. Audrey's girlfriend Rachel, she was killed kind of early on and throughout the season. They've been trying to figure out the connection between Rachel and the murders, because Rachel has nothing to do with Emma and her family. And now it clicks in our heads like, oh, bet you Rachel found out something, so Audrey killed her. That's all there was to the season finale. So series overall, despite there being one really good episode and a few good scenes and some pretty cool deaths, I think overall I'm gonna have to give this series just a blah. Like, it wasn't bad. I've seen worse. It's just, it was dull. It was just dull. I wasn't particularly excited to move on to the next episode. Really didn't care about like any of the characters. The only one I actually like is Noah. Yeah, it's just dull. I mean, I guess now with that ending, I'm interested to see how Audrey got involved in all of this, like what her motivation is. Piper's motivation made sense, but Audrey's, we have to figure out, and I couldn't think of anything. I don't know what her motivation would be. But I can't see that lasting more than a season. Like, if it takes them more than a season to figure out that Audrey is involved, then this show is a bust. But for right now, I'm gonna go ahead and give it thumbs down. I think they should have just left well enough alone, you know? Why did Scream have to be made into a TV series, huh? Why couldn't we just enjoy the movies? Yeah, those are my feelings on the Scream TV series. If you watched all the way through the first season with me, please let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of the series overall, what you thought of season 1, and what you thought of that last episode. It was boring, wasn't it? It was just boring. Yeah. So I've still been watching The Walking Dead. I figured it would just be easier, you know, to try and get through a season and then just review the whole season of The Walking Dead for you, because I'm so like ridiculously behind everybody else. So look forward to that. And it's almost October, so we have some really good, or at least they look really good, TV series coming up. We have Scream Queens, which I think is gonna look like just a fun time. And then of course, American Horror Story, which I watch every single year. So there's no getting out of that one. I'm gonna talk about American Horror Story on here. Sorry if you don't like it. And I think I'm going to start doing the TV reviews every other Thursday. I think that's gonna be better. I think. Yeah. We'll have more to talk about if I wait. Yeah. Okay. So if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and feel free to subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more of my face and hear more of my voice. And until next time, stay strange. Bye.